Here you are. You found your way to YouTube and to a channel about watches. You're thinking maybe watch collecting is for me. Sounds like fun. Buying timepieces with intricate movements, wearing small works of art on your wrist.
Gorgeous! He's gorgeous!
Have you ever been this crazy about any other entertainer?
No, and that's what's so amazing.
The admiration, the envy of men and women around you. Surely you have to dive in. But I have to tell you, this is going to be one of the most difficult life choices you will ever make. You thought it was joining the army or whether or not to become an accountant or an English teacher. Being a watch collector is fraught with perils, and it's not for everybody. Do you have what it takes to be a watch collector? That's what I'm going to help you out with today. Laying bare the challenges and the pitfalls of being a watch collector and what it takes to become one of us. Let's dive in. If you want to be a watch collector, you have to be willing to spend money. One $10,000 Rolex does not make you a collector. 3 watches is not going to cut it. That's not a collection, that's a rotation. Until you're actively contemplating an Excel sheet to keep track of your watches, your NATO straps, and you have a toolbox filled with varying sizes of spring bars, you are not a collector. So you're going to have to spend money. And now you're thinking, no, I'm only going to buy cheap vintage watches. I'm not going to buy the new stuff. That's also going to cost you money. Maybe you only want to buy affordable Chinese watches. It's still going to add up. It starts with one $200 watch, and 10 years later, you're going to be kicking yourself when you see how much you've spent. It doesn't matter where you're going to limit your price range to. Over time, you will spend more than you ever expected or thought you would. You're going to have to get used to the fact that everything you buy from now on, anything, not just watches, will always be looked at through the lens of watches. The wife wants to go out to eat. Nice meal for $200. That money could go to a new watch. You think this won't happen? It will. And your significant other? You come home, you just bought an IWC Ingenieur for $12,000. Something tells me you're not paying for a painter this year to freshen up the kitchen. That's going to be next year. So enjoy the conversation with your significant other, by the way. And maybe your buddies want to go on a weekend bender to Prague. That's going to cost you a couple of $1,000s. How many months is that going to set you back in terms of saving for that Zenith Chronomaster? You will be doing the math. And can you do that? Can you replace all normal rules of algebra and accept that any formula will always be solving for WATCH? You will also need to subscribe to a YouTuber if you want to be a watch enthusiast. Start now. Subscribe to me. Thanks. You think collecting is easy, don't you? You think it's just about buying the watches that you like. Wrong. You have 2 vintage watches, a modern chronograph, and a Rolex. That's not a collection, that's an assortment. You have to build a narrative around your collection. What does it say about you and your interests? Are you the kind of person that generally thinks things were better in the old days? Well, then vintage watches and reissues might just be for you. Are you the kind of person that loves the finer things in life? Then you're going to have to buy some Rolexes. Unless, of course, if you can pronounce these words entirely correctly. Roederer, Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and Chamonix. If so, you have to buy dress watches, preferably Jaeger-LeCoultre or Breguet. If you want to wear jewelry, but you don't want to be teased by manly men, then you have to be a tool watch collector. You have to talk about the time you met a guy who was a saturation diver. You need to relate how your watch will be perfect for free soloing El Capitan. You'll get bonus points if you can tell the story of the one time where you almost fell to your death, but your 2-piece NATO strap snagged on a rock, saving you from certain death. And that is why we always wear NATOs, people. You need a personal narrative. There's a reason why people choose Märklin over Hornby or the other way around. You can't just buy whatever model train you want, and you can't just enjoy whatever watches you buy. You have to have a story for why you got into it and why you collect those kinds of watches. You have to have a speech, and you need to be ready to recite it when somebody asks. This isn't about you. This is about maintaining the integrity of the watch community. You saying that you like watches because you like shiny things is unacceptable. You have to have a more meaningful argumentation that stands up to external and internal scrutiny. And don't you ever dare say that you're doing it for investment purposes. That's just a no-go. So now you've got your personal narrative. the reason why you got into watches. But we're not done yet. You have to dislike something. This is incredibly important. Being a collector is also about what you don't buy and don't like. Fortunately, I've got a list for you can choose from that has been developed over time and it has been tested. It's tried and true. Good options are hating Rolex because they're all branding. You can, of course, give yourself some leeway to still buy Rolexes on this one. You can make exceptions by saying the old Rolexes are the real tool watches and those are acceptable. Or I'll buy a modern Rolex if it has the tool vibe. You can hate on Swiss watches in their entirety. You can be all in on China because Switzerland is just a scam and everything is made in China anyway. Or you can be totally anti-China because it's just copies and they have no heritage and all sorts of other things. You also have to choose, who do you hate most? Hublot or Invicta? It can't be both. You need to have a logical and consistent reasoning for the brand you're against. Well, not logical, well, consistent. No, it doesn't have to be consistent either, but you have to hate something. You can't just do like Nico and hate on anything that doesn't earn you money. Well, again, that is kind of consistent for him. Next up, you're at a party. Somebody will tell people you collect watches. And then you get the question, can you get me a Rolex? Do you have any connections? What do you say? Are you going to stand there like a deer stuck in the headlights? That's not going to be good enough. You have to have an answer. Are you going to go down the route of explaining market pricing, waiting lists, the current state of the market? Or are you going to explain how you don't actually buy at ADs and then have to get into the whole grey dealer conversation? You need to know how to answer that question. But we're not done. There's one more question you're going to get. If someone asks you, what do you think of this watch that I'm considering buying? What do you say? What if they're going to go into the AD and ask for a Daytona without any purchase history? Do you tell them? Or are you just going to laugh at them? What kind of a human being do you want to be?
I don't think we have anything for you. You're obviously in the wrong place. Please leave.
What if they are considering a Hublot Classic Fusion with a Solita movement for $8,000? Are you going to let them do that? Really? Is that the kind of person you want to be? Would you let your child play with a loaded gun? With great power comes great responsibility. There are also some things you need to take a stance on. These are non-negotiables. There is no room for pragmatism. Quartz versus mechanical, choose now. Omega versus Rolex, choose now. The Holy Trinity, that's an objective truth. It's nonsense, choose now. Helium escape valve, come on, make up your mind. You're not a saturation diver, but you refuse to buy anything with less than 300 meters of water resistance. Is that you or is it not you? Speedmaster, iconic or overrated? You have to have a position. Explorer, did it ever actually go up the mountain or not? Watch rolls, watch cases. Make a choice. This is a life decision, much like the name of your firstborn. Watch winders, useful, waste of space. These choices are the most consequential ones you'll make in your lifetime. You still have a lot of leeway in how you want to be a collector, but one thing that is key is that there are three things, two of which you have to pick as areas of knowledge. Area one is movement and complication technology. Do you want to be the guy that knows what a pallet fork is? If you think that it's something that's used on cranes, you would be, well, wrong, because that's not the point here. You also have to have a position. What is better, lever or coaxial? Second, you can choose history. Which was first, Blancpain 50 Fathoms or the Submariner? What was the order of the design of the Nautilus, the Engineer, and the Royal Oak? Tell me now. What company did Jean-Claude Beaver take over in the 1980s? And finally, aesthetics. The text Explorer on the dial of the Rolex Explorer. Is it near the 6 o'clock position or the 12 o'clock position? If you're in this camp, you also know what long E is, and you remember to the day, hour and minute, when your favorite Seiko reference stopped having drilled lugs. Movements, brand history, or design. Those are your knowledge areas you can choose from. That is, of course, unless you're a grey market dealer, where you should limit your knowledge entirely to the resale price of Rolex models, the Nautilus, and every single Royal Oak reference. Everything else, not important.
Here, try it on. See how it works.
Ooh, it's perfect.
You like that?
Yes.
That watch is yours.
Next question. Are you going to try and get your significant other into the hobby? Are you willing to kick the person to the curb if they don't care about watches? This is, of course, easier said than done. Finding a most likely woman, because this channel's audience is like 98% male. Maxina, thanks for sticking around all this time, by the way. But Finding someone that actually cares about watches is rare, but you need someone that is going to accept the fact that you spend time on watches and that it will leach into other parts of your life. Some partners will have an opinion on the amount of money you spend on watches. Others will not have the energy to listen to you babble on about the Dynapulse escapement, which is revolutionary. Your child might think that the conflicts your child is having in school with Brian is important, but is it really? I mean, Bremont just released a pink-dialed watch. I mean, that's clearly the thing we need to be talking about, right? You also need to start practicing your interactions with regular human beings. You should, at any time, be able to divert any controversial conversation away from the contentious topic and over to watches. Think of the scenario. You're at a party and somebody is talking about the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. You don't want the event to be political. What do? You bring up that Putin wears a breguet. From there, you can transition into a conversation about why breguet isn't more popular. From there, you can move on to talk about which presidents wore which watches. Biden wore Omega and Rolex. Clinton has several Langers. George Bush wears Patek. But it doesn't stop there. It can also be about sports. People are discussing whether or not Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. And then Deflategate comes up. Everything gets tense around the table. But you know what to do? The important conversation is Tom Brady a watch collector or just a brand ambassador? Does he really care about all those IWCs he has? Movies? People get super worked up about who's the best Bond. Brosnan, Lazenby, Craig? Please, do you really want them to ruin their evening? The thing you should be talking about is which was the best Bond watch. But it's also not just about difficult conversations. It's about being able to have random small talk. Your buddies are talking about cars and you know nothing about cars. They're discussing how Audi, Mercedes, and BMW compete. You know what to do, right? Is Rolex, BMW, Mercedes, or Audi? That's the interesting question. What is the watch world equivalent of a Hyundai? Your friends might not have thought they should care about these kind of things, but that's where you need to step in and be the grown-up. And finally, most importantly, you also need a favorite YouTuber. Do you really want to follow a guy that is a talking dinosaur? Is this who you want to identify with? Or do you identify with this man? He bought a Lamborghini blind. Is this someone you would take advice from? And her? Isn't she just annoyingly happy? She wants to have fun and have a light-hearted and joyful approach to watches? No, that's just crazy talk. Watches are serious business. Watches are made by Germans and Swiss. The Swiss and the Germans do not make watches for you to have fun. And this guy, good Lord, ooh, look at my beautiful B-roll. I'm so good at taking pictures and sounding profound. Who wants to listen to that? And don't even get me started on this guy. He's tall and good looking. His videos are great. He must be a raging psychopath. You know it. You can't support that. No. What you want is a bald, middle-aged, privileged white dude, someone with an exceptionally dry delivery and a penchant for ridiculous overanalysis and overthinking. A man who comes across as a low-rent Bond villain owning one good Ironheart shirt, which he seems incapable of ironing. This is the man you should subscribe to. Do it now. Like, subscribe. Cheers.